I am live. All right, here we go again. So, welcome, guys. Today we have a podcast going on, and Rowland from Combat Self Defense. I discovered his channel about maybe 2 weeks ago, approximately. And I was really impressed by his content, his point of views, the way he explained things. Wow, like I found that he was really unique in his thought process and the way he explained it. And yeah, he seemed like a really cool guy. So I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it, man." So it's awesome. He's just finishing up giving a class because he's the martial arts teacher. So he teaches self defense, but through combat sports. So basically, MMA for self defense, and other stuff as well. I think I seen him do some stick fighting and stuff. I binge watched a couple of his videos. Pretty good stuff. Like if you guys don't know who he is, like I highly suggest you go check him out and subscribe to his channel. And I'm gonna take a lot of notes from him as well. Like I like the way he does his content and all. And yeah, so he's gonna be a little bit late. So not maybe not 9 o'clock, maybe 9:15, 9:30, whatever. But meanwhile, I will entertain you guys and do some stuff. Actually, let me see here. Oh, something was delivered. No. Yeah, so I actually went for a run for about half an hour with my boy Hero, and it was a good run. Woke me up. I didn't go to kata practice today. I want to catch up on some work, and I didn't go do any on my wrestling either. So, and I got guys, by the way, I got fights coming up. So I have a potential fight, an event September 10th, and another one September 24th. So it's all gonna like come down one shot, from like zero, like striking slash competition, because I've competed in BJJ and in judo for quite a while now, and but never in a striking sport, right? So I did one taekwondo competition when I was a kid, and I got my ass kicked, but that was that. But I haven't done any since then. Like I've done a lot of sparring, but doesn't really count, right? Sparring is not the same thing exactly. It's not as intense. It's not. Well, it's just different, right? It's not competition, so to speak. So now I really want to give my hands a try at this, and we'll see what happens. And regardless of what happens, it's not going to be the last. I plan on competing for as long as I possibly can. And, it's just a way of keeping myself sharp and becoming like the best martial artist I could be. And for as long as I could do it, I'm going to do it. All right. All right. Let me see here. So while we're waiting, let me just check my messages, make sure. Oh, no, it's fine. He'll hop on in when the time comes. Let me know if you guys could hear me. Wait, I'm going to click on the comment section here. Yeah. So just type like a 1 if you guys can hear me, just so I'm making sure that the audio is all good. And today, what we're going to talk about with Rob is we're going to talk about sparring, his approach to it. We're going to talk about self-defense, his approach to it. Actually, let me give you guys a little bit more detail. So in sparring, we're going to talk about how to approach it the ideal way, taking a beginner and getting him to an advanced level. What defines a beginner, intermediate, and an advanced student, right? Sparring light versus sparring hard, when and how to go about it. And so that's one topic that I want to touch on with Rob. Self-defense. Now, reality versus fiction, because he has a really interesting take on this. And one of the videos that I found super interesting is a video he made regarding street fighting is a sport, something like that. I don't remember the exact title, but it was something like that, and it was a really good video. So, self defense, a reality versus fiction, what the industry tries to sell you, because that's what they're trying to do, in my opinion. Also, stats, statistics, where these incidences actually go down, as opposed to every street corner where there's a boogeyman waiting for you. What people basically try to sell you. Okay. Yes, I'm not disparaging people who actually been in situations, but I mean, for the most part, I feel as though they're selling us something. They're playing on our fears. The industry, the self defense industry. Like there is this one guy here in Montreal actually, and he has a YouTube channel. His nick is Nick Drosos, and I've watched some of his content. And it's good. Like I like the way he explains things and all, but I still feel as though it's overplayed in the sense that makes it sound like Montreal is such a dangerous place to stay. Like because in my opinion, guys, like man, unless you live in the like, I want to get Rob's take on this, but like unless you live in the ghetto, okay, and you're hanging around the corners where all the drug dealers are and the gangbangers are and all that, or you're constantly in bars and clubs, you know, like where's all this self defense thing? Like where's the what's the problem here? Like you're not going to get into any kind of trouble for the most part, right? So I feel as though Nick Drosos, I'm sure he has his own experience, and maybe with his experience, that's how he views it, that's how he sees it, based on what he's been through in his life. But me personally, like, nah. Anytime I got into scraps here, I had to defend myself. Wasn't really defend, honestly. It only happened one time. But most of the time, when I was beating up people when I was young, it was always like after a bar, like after drinking a lot at a bar, at a club, at a karaoke, because I'm Asian. Yes, I used to karaoke. Okay. So, anyways, oh, we're also going to talk about weapons training. I want to get Rob's take on this because I know Rob trains in weapons. Rob is actually a black belt in Kaju Kembo, but he makes fun of it as well. It's pretty interesting. Weapons training, where, and when to start in your martial arts journey, right? And another subject I want to touch on is practical and functional technique for self-defense. So Rob made a video regarding self-defense technique, like the functional techniques for self-defense. And for technique to be functional, he was saying how it had to be simple, like functional and practical, simple, attributeless, and likely, which I found like, wow, like it just makes so much sense, right? And sometimes things, but you don't have the words to express it correctly. And then when you hear somebody express it the way he did, I was like, ooh, yeah, that's why I really wanted to get him on the show. Anyways, yeah, so we're gonna talk about that. Also want to touch on combatives versus traditional martial arts versus combat sports versus self-defense, because there's actually differences, and Rob's gonna be able to help us out with that. Arts like Krav Maga, Kung Fu, Karate, Kempo, Aikido, Jiu-Jitsu, Wing Chun, Taekwondo, and all that good stuff. Another subject I'd like to touch on, because this is like a lot of subjects, and who knows, we might spend a lot of time on one subject and maybe never get to everything that I want to talk about. But one subject I'm interested in talking about is how would he define a martial artist, right? Because I have a certain perspective regarding that. So in my mind, I define a martial artist as complete or incomplete. Anyone who does some kind of combat sports or practice some form of fighting, martial art, is a martial artist to me. Now, some of them are more complete, some of them are not complete, so to speak. So, the complete one is obviously the one that's well-rounded. And when I say martial arts, like I'm talking about, to me, it's military, right? So military / warfare. So if you get into that, then you have to get into, weapons training at one point, and then you have to understand tactics, military tactics, which is like, you know, it goes deep, it goes far, it goes wide. It's not just hand to hand combat. People think of it that way because, for example, like if we get into a street fight, right? Or it's not a street fight, but a self defense scenario where somebody's trying to really harm me and I have to really defend myself, then all of a sudden, like all bets are off in that case. So you're not there to fight fair. And if you're not there to fight fair, well, you're going to pretty much do everything you can to win, so to speak. So I think that changes quite a bit, right? Quite a bit the dynamics of what you can do and what you can't do, and what you should do, and what goes out the window and what doesn't. Let me just check here 1 second. Okay. So another thing I want to touch on is what to train and in what order if you could start from scratch at a very young age to become a complete martial artist. Well, as complete as possible, right? Like now that I think about it, it's pretty hard to be 100% complete. That would be, I wouldn't say impossible, but like, wow, you'd have to be raised in an environment where everything is laid out for you. Okay, so, and also for your average dude with a full-time job, wife, kids, who wants to become combat ready, but can't spend more than 2-3 times a week training, then I want to get Rob's suggestions. So those are my main, wait, did I have anything else? Oh, a couple of other things too. I want to get his opinion on the whole self-defense YouTube scene. There's a lot of channels out there on YouTube regarding self-defense, and I find a lot of them are kind of BS. If like I'm not saying it's just like the way it's just my opinion, and it might not be, but I feel it is, mainly because none of that movie stuff actually works, guys. Like it could work in theory, but theory and what actually happens, it's like, you're not gonna just learn 1 or 2 techniques and be able to execute on it. Like it takes a lot of training, a lot of sparring, a lot of to get to a level where you're able to just throw it out like that. Somebody comes in and bam, 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 bam. Because it's a mindset as well. So it's pretty it's pretty interesting. Like, so the channels that I find that are pretty what do you call it? Like Master Wong. I watch some of his stuff and I feel it's flashy. It's very flashy. It's entertaining, but it's really flashy. And then there's also Fight Science. Like this another channel that I watched a couple of videos on, and I never found like the stuff to be all that I wouldn't say not legit, but it seems far-fetched, man. It seems like, because a lot of this stuff I feel is like, okay, you'd have to it could only be pulled off on somebody who actually doesn't know how to fight. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. And I feel as though it's just, and you already have to be good at fighting, to be able to pull this kind of stuff off, for one, right? And then on top of that, like, if the guy, how do I explain this? I'm trying to be nice about it, right? But like, how do you, because the guy has to be, first of all, you got to catch the guy off guard. And then on top of that, you have to actually know how to fight to be able to apply these things. So you'd have to have a very solid foundation in, combat sports, and then add all of this on. And when I think that, like, it's the overcomplicated for nothing. Like, I'm going to start making videos regarding self-defense and what I would do in a scenario like this. And I'll show you guys like what I would do. And I train in pretty much everything, every combat sport at this point, like judo, wrestling, BJJ, MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, boxing. Like, I do it all. And Oh, I actually have a fight coming up. Oh, I think I mentioned that already. Like on the 24th of September and the 10th of September. Well, there's two promotions, and I put my name there. I put my name out, so we'll see. I put my name on in the hat, right? I think that's how you say it, and we'll see what that. Like they have to find me an opponent. I have to accept. I have to actually, we both, me and the opponent. Once we accept, we actually have to make it to the event, right? There's always injuries. There's always things that come up. So we'll see. But I'm excited for it, guys. Like I feel I'm ready, man. I'm ready to go. Just gotta get my cardio up, and after that, I'm going to cage, start fighting, then make videos about it, share with you guys how how it's done. Yeah, 43, man, 43, and jumping in the cage. You guys are a quiet bunch today. Are you guys hearing me at all? Like, okay. All right. Actually, you know what? I want to share you with you guys. Let me take a look here. Let's watch one of Rob's videos. All right, how do I share my screen? Let me share this nice black one right here. Ta-da! Okay, so I actually found an article about Rob, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read this before our podcast, but I can't find it anymore. I'm gonna have to ask him about it. Now let me see. Why do I have this big book in front of me? Give me 1 second, guys. Oh, wait a second. I got a question here. Can I ask how many weeks was your training camp? Well, let's see now. 2 months. 2 months, so about 8 weeks. But I haven't really started hardcore. Amateur fight, so I would say that I don't need more than 6 to 8 weeks tops. Yep, that's it. Like right now, you see, like because I train year round. Like it's not like if I never get out of shape. To be honest, I'm always training, and sometimes I'm training a little bit more intense when it's comp season, right? Competition season for judo and all. And I do my striking and my MMA and my wrestling and all that stuff and my boxing like on a regular basis. So like I'm just getting in fighting shape now. So that's more about like intensity and cardio than anything else, and being more intentional with the rounds. So you're not just sparring for fun. Like you have to put the timer on. You have to go your 3 rounds. Because me, for amateur fight in MMA, it's going to be 3 rounds of 2 minutes. 2 minutes is nothing. It's fast, and so you have to be able to have the cardio, to go hard during 2 minutes. But most importantly, you have to be able to keep calm, in my opinion. Like we'll see how I take it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to stay calm. It's not going to be a problem. Oh, Rob's here. All right. Rob,
What up?
how's it going, man?
It's pretty good, man. Sorry I'm late.
Yeah, no worries, man. I was just chatting with the people, answering some questions.
What's up, people?
All right. Yeah, so I got Nguyen M here. Asked me how many weeks was my training camp, because I might have a fight coming up on September 10th. So it'll be a MMA fight or maybe kickboxing, and I got another one coming up on September 24th. So he was asking me how many weeks was my training camp? Like 2 months. 2 months, I feel, is all I really need to to get ready for an amateur fight. It's going to be my first amateur fight. It's either going to be, I'm planning to do it MMA because I got like I feel like I got a solid enough background in grappling. But I mean, I can't seem to find an opponent because I'm 43 years old.
What?
Yeah, 43.
You're 43?
Yeah.
Don't lie to me. We just started the stream. Don't lie to me.
No, serious. Yeah, 43 years old.
Well, damn.
So, yeah. So like I've been competing in judo and BJJ for a minute now. I did like maybe 6 years of. I started when I was 30 doing BJJ. I did that for about 6 years, and I competed a little bit, like about a dozen times, and then I transitioned over to judo. And for judo, I've been training that for about 7 years now. So I'm a brown belt in judo, a blue belt in BJJ. I've been wrestling for about 2 years. Like technically, I'm a purple belt in BJJ. To be honest, it's just that I changed clubs, like right in the middle, and then they just reset me, right? And so that's what happened. And I've been doing wrestling for like 2 years now. I've been striking for about 2 years, like kickboxing, and then I started boxing. Like it's been like maybe 4 months now. So I feel I'm okay for a first fight, you know.
You sound pretty well prepared. I mean, I don't need to chime in or anything. I just want to tell you, like, the skill level at an amateur MMA fight, you sound like you're ready to blow someone out of the water, you know? Like, hearing your resume for the first time like that, like, I don't see your first MMA fight being that hard for you, you know?
Well, I mean, anything can happen. You know, I could always
Right.
get knocked out and all. But I mean, I feel as though with all the competition that I got like under my belt for judo, I know it's not the same because it's grappling and all. But like I really at this point don't get nervous. At least not in my judo comps, right? Like I just go there, I warm up, I'm focused, I have fun, I do my thing. I try to obviously I play to win, but I mean it's not. There's no like anxiety or anger. I'm not like going absolutely insane or anything like that. Like I think I got that part of it pretty much under control. It probably be a little bit different when someone's trying to punch me. But like I'm just gonna go Khabib the guy, right? I'm just gonna take him down and beat him up. Yeah.
If you can get over the pain of getting punched for the first time, I think judo and wrestling inoculate you to stress more than any other combat sport for MMA. Just because like the pace, because I've done a few judo comps in my day, and the pace that I've had to keep in judo is nothing like keeping pace in Muay Thai or MMA. Because like even just like a guy grabbing onto your collar and you're just trying to keep him from grabbing on with the other hand, that takes a lot of effort.
Oh yeah, you get really tired, man. Like if ever you like you do just like a judo match, and you do like just kumikata, right? You're just grip fighting, just that. Holy smokes! Like you really like you really burn out.
Yeah.
Your cardio's pumping, your heart's racing, the adrenaline goes up and all, and you're not even throwing, you're just fighting for grips.
Just holding on to each other or trying to hold on to each other.
Yeah, you're trying to hold the other guy down because in judo, like if you have like the most important thing is the sleeve. So if you control the guy's sleeve and you put it down, you're pushing it down, and then you have like the power hand here, like over the top, and you bend the guy, you break his posture, like you're in a very dominant position. So you're constantly trying to not get into that position in the first place. And if you are in that position, you're fighting like hell to get out of it. So that's like a kumikata fight. So it's really, really intense. And I didn't know that. I thought like getting punched and kicked in the head would be more exhausting, more stressful.
I'll tell you, man. The first time I got punched in the face, and this might just be me speaking, right? This is just an anecdote. I can't say it's science, but for me, I was worried the first time I got punched in the face, I was going to break down. When I got hit by another human being who didn't care about protecting me for the sake of practice, for the sake of us being friends, when it was just an opponent, I just got clear. Like I didn't freak out. I couldn't even say it hurt. It was just like, oh shit. All right, here we go. This is what this feels like, I know that's not the case for a lot of people. I know a lot of people, and also I'm not advocating just get punched in the face. I should have moved. But a lot of people say like everyone's got a plan until they get hit in the face. If you train intelligently and regularly, the first time it happens shouldn't break you. It should feel different because you shouldn't be eating, super hard punches to the head in training, but it should be like, it's pretty similar. As a matter of fact, the first like clean punch that I took to the face, I remember saying to my coach afterwards, that punch was not half as bad as some of my training partners when they kick me in the ribs. Like the training can sometimes be harder than that.
Okay.
So it depends on the person. It definitely depends on the person. I would never advocate just get punched in the face, but I think you're probably more used to it than you think you are, just based on how much you've gotten thrown to the ground.
Yeah, and like I do. I remember about 2 years ago when I started striking again. So I only had two training buddies that I was doing it with. So one of them was 6'4", about 265. Another one was 6 foot, 225. So they were going light, but they would still like hit me, because I wasn't experienced and I wasn't any good.
Right.
And yeah, so I kind of so of course it sucked, but I mean I got used to it fairly quickly, and that's when I realized that like my neck is actually pretty solid because of all the grappling.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I'm not getting caught like clean here, if I brace for it and I get cracked, like I'm okay. I might rock, I might like fall over or whatever, but I won't. It's not that bad. It's not that bad, I find. And now I'm getting a lot better with it in the sense that like I get hit a lot less because I got a little bit, I got better movement, I got a better defense and all, and I'm able to like I'm able to keep facing them when I'm actually fighting. Like I could keep my eyes open now and look at punches.
That's so important.
Yeah. It's a crazy thing, but like for the longest time, it's like really keeping your eyes like wide open as the things are coming and just like either blocking it, taking it on the head, trying to, instead of like trying to, like close your eyes and not really looking. And I feel as that like I'm at a point where I'm comfortable, like seeing things coming, and I'm starting to read people now.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting thing. It's like I'm starting to see things coming, and I'm starting to understand angles. So I'm starting to understand like if I'm at this angle or that angle, like I'm okay, and here I'm not okay. And also like my positioning is a little bit better, so I'm not off balance. And I got this from one of your videos. You actually kind of made me realize this, is that if your head is basically over your knees, you're off balance.
Yeah.
Whether it's to the front, to the back, or to the side, it's just a reference point, right? Like you could tell people, okay, like just move around and try to figure out where your center of gravity is. But really, what I found is that when I heard you say that, and I was like playing with it, I was like, okay, and I was like, yeah, you're completely right. It doesn't matter like how tall, how short, how whatever you are, what kind of body type you have, your arms, your legs. But if your head passes your knee, you're off balance. You're not going to be able to recover fast enough to like so you're in a horrible position basically. So yeah, your videos are great, man. So for those of you guys who are watching, and if you guys don't know Rob, you got to go over and check his channel out, Combat Self Defense. And I really enjoyed your video. Like I fell on your videos and I was watching it, and I was like, man, this guy really explains well, man.
Thanks. I'm not good at a lot of things. I am good at talking a lot, though.
I'm good at talking a lot, but I'm not sure about like in terms of quality.
Right. Exactly. I'm like, if I just talk, I could teach you whatever you want. If you want me to do it. Yeah. Interestingly enough, though, my tip about the balance thing, I actually got that from my judo training. Because when I was learning foot sweeps, my sensei told me, like, if you can get the guy's foot sliding out this way and his head going off in the other direction, he's off balance. But if you just try to sweep his foot and he hasn't moved, you're just going to hit his ankle. You're not going to do anything. So he said, always make that counterbalance. Head one way, ankle the other way.
Okay. Yeah, and you reference something regarding tracks. You know how when you're squared up against your opponent, so his shoulders would be like a track, and then your shoulders would be a track. And if you just angle it like that, now you're right in the middle. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. One, the way you explain that, I'm like, oh, okay, I perfectly understand that. It makes sense. But it's also in judo, they talk a lot about that as well, like the tracks.
Mhm.
and then they go into the triangle thing there. It's like how to set up your feet positioning relative to your opponent so that you form a triangle, and that's where you're able to pull off your moves and all. But yeah, man. So that's what I noticed about your videos. Like, first of all, I noticed that you have a really good way of explaining things, and also I found that you had different insight than a lot of other a lot of other YouTubers on YouTube.
I appreciate that. I mean, I wish I could take credit for it, but really, it's just I paid attention when my teachers were talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't claim to be like this genius that can just recognize and see everything in martial arts. I just listen to my teachers when they talk to me. The train tracks thing that just came from boxing for me, came from just realizing like if our shoulders are facing each other, we're having a fair fight. If I have one shoulder in the middle, now I've got a straight line to your nose. My life is much easier. And that just came from listening to a boxing teacher, just listening to the way he was teaching, what he was saying. So really what I try to do with my channel isn't so much to I play up the idea of me being arrogant and super smart, but I just parrot back what my teachers taught me. And I try to just put it all into one location. That way, if you're interested in striking, you can learn striking from my channel. Interested in grappling concepts, you can learn that from there. If you want weapon stuff, I just want to put it all in one spot. That way you don't have to go to 20 different places to find it. I'm not saying my information is the best or the only place to get info, but it's there.
Yeah. No. And the truth is everybody learned from somebody, right? There's nothing really new under the sun. Like, there might be different ways of explaining things and all. And of course, like, we're on YouTube, right? So we got to make it entertaining somewhat. You know what I mean? Or else, like, people are just gonna fall asleep, and that's no good, right? So, like, you wanna, like, you gotta do what you gotta do in that regards. But yeah, so hey, I wanted to get to know you a little bit more because I found an article on you. It was on your YouTube channel in the about section, but then when I went back to look for it, I couldn't find it. I don't know if it's me who, like, I don't know, or maybe it disappeared. But I wanted to read that article before we actually hop on the podcast together, but I couldn't find it.
I don't want to sound arrogant. I'm just saying there's a couple articles about me. Was it the Voyage article?
I don't know. I only saw one. If I Google it, am I gonna find it?
I think so. If you look up Rob Rowland Combat Self Defense Voyage, Voyage, you'll probably find, if that's the one I think you're talking about. It was a newer one. It was by this small business magazine in my town. They just wanted to do one about me because outside of being a YouTuber, I do also own my own small business. So they just wanted to do an interview on a martial artist, and they chose me. So nothing special. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it is a long one. It is a long one. So if you want to read it on the air, I can narrate it audiobook style, or we can kind of skim it together if you want.
Yeah, definitely, man. Let's well, you know what? How about you just like explain to us a little bit like your background? Because from what I gather, you have a black belt in Kaju Kembo. Obviously, you're a teacher. You're a martial artist. I think you have your own club and you have your own business. But like, I didn't. Just let the people know like your kind of like your background, your Batman origin story. In regards to like how you got into martial arts and where you headed with all this and the YouTube channel and everything.
Yeah. I started martial arts when I was 11 years old. There was a jiu-jitsu gym like right next to my school that at this point I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. I just saw that there was martial arts gym. I saw there were people in gis. So I was like, whatever, I'll jump in. Did that for about 9 months to a year. And then I don't remember why I ended up having to quit. Either this hours didn't make sense for my classes anymore. Whatever it was, I couldn't train anymore. And the truth is I didn't really take to jiu-jitsu at that point. I didn't know what it was. It wasn't really what I was looking for. I was going to stick it out because I really wanted to train, but I didn't know what I was doing. Fast forward about 4 months after that, I see that there's now a Taijutsu school. For those that don't know, that's basically ninjutsu. And that, I was like, all right, that's what I'm into. I want to jump around in a black gi. I had a lot of fun with that. Made it all the way to brown belt. Trained like super rigorously 5 days a week. I was practicing everything. My ukemi, practicing all my kihon, practicing everything as hard as I could. And then I went to a open gym that a friend of mine had at his MMA gym. Got trashed by the jiu-jitsu players, trashed by the boxers, trashed by the MMA fighters. Like, could not do anything. And my sensei, when I told him about it, just said that what we were doing wasn't something I could spar with. And I said,
Oh, okay. Yeah, the whole you could, it's for killing.
right. And I remember being like, well, but if I can kill with this, then I can also not kill with this, right? Like, I was like, because I remember I got in a rear naked choke and I was like, I could die here, but I didn't. So therefore, if you have the ability to kill with something, you have the ability to not do that. I should be able to get you to the point, and I don't. And the thing is, like, nothing happened to me that I didn't see before. Like, I knew what an armbar was. I knew what a choke was like. I knew what getting punched was like. I trained all those things in taijutsu, but I didn't train in a way that made me good at them under pressure. And that's when I realized, you know what? I think a lot of this is not good. I think this is all. I think this is crap. Like, I was like, I don't think these guys really care about fighting. I think they just want to look tough.
How pissed were you when you realized that?
I was frustrated. I was really frustrated. Like, I felt like I was lied to, but I felt like I put all this work in. What am I going to do? Like, maybe it is just me. Maybe I'm just not good at this. So I just need to, it's the sunk cost fallacy, right? I was like, I've been here for so long. I need to do it more to get better at it. Then I see the Fight Quest episode of Kaju Kembo. For those of you that don't know, you can look on YouTube. I'm not telling you to pirate a TV show, but you can look on YouTube and find Fight Quest Kaju Kembo. And that's essentially, to quickly sum up the show, these two amateur fighters go across the world and visit new gyms, spend a week training in a style, and at the end, fight in that style. In this particular episode, they visited a gym in San Jose, California, and training Kaju Kembo. They're training in black gis. They're doing hand-to-hand. They're doing ground game stuff. They're doing weapons training. And they're doing essentially what happened to me in that open gym setting, but in a traditional martial arts setting. And I was like, this is what I was looking for with taijutsu. So I'm going to go do that. So I go on Google and I go to look up, where's the nearest Kaju Kembo place? Kaju Kembo is a super small martial art. So I'm like, this is going to be out in the boonies, 50 miles away from me. It's actually a Kaju Kembo gym down the street from my house. Like, I pass it on my way home from school. So I emailed the instructor. He says, just come on in. I know you're at another gym right now, but why don't you just come on in for a trial class, see what you think. Took one class, and I was like, this is way better. Immediately, this is better. I see people sparring. I see there's pressure testing. There's not 1,000 people. There's not 1,000 times to bow to your sensei, which you had to do a lot of in taijutsu. Like, it got to the point where I couldn't even directly address my sensei. I had to talk to the senpai and then my sensei.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah. Whereas with Kaju Kembo, it was like, no, you can talk to anybody you want. If you have questions, ask them. So I liked it. And on top of all of that, my instructor, Tony Morell, who I need to name drop because without him, I don't end up here. He had a boxing instructor in there. He had a judo instructor in there, and he had a jiu-jitsu instructor in there. And a Kali instructor. There's also Kali there. And at no point did he say, you can't do any of these programs but mine. And if you do any of these programs, you're welcome to bring in what they do into our class. So I did. So I trained in jiu-jitsu, trained in Kali, trained in judo, did a little bit of boxing, did kind of all of it. And I loved it. It was great. It was a great time. It's when I learned a lot. What I recognized, though, was that the Kaju Kembo itself that I was doing was kind of the weak link. Like, it was still very much Kempo, which, if you watch my channel at all, I have a big problem with American Kempo.
Yeah, I noticed that. You were just making fun of them. And, because as far as I know, Kempo is basically American karate. And I'm not sure what the difference is between like regular, like, traditional karate and Kempo style karate. But from what I've seen, they throw a lot of combos. And it's very fast. It's like, like they throw like a thousand strikes, one shot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
This is gonna get to kind of a semantic thing, but it's important to me, so I'll talk about it.
Yep.
In Japan, and I'm not saying this as like a fanboy type thing. I have Kaju Kembo friends that live in Japan. They don't consider American Kempo and therefore Kaju Kembo karate. Because, like you said, it's based on like 10, 20, 30 piece combinations. Whereas karate, by and large, is a one hit, one kill type of training method. Like, yes, they can combo their strikes, but they don't tend to do it the same way that Kempo does it. The training methods are very different. The expression is very different. The only thing that really makes American Kempo look like or sound like karate is that Americans called it karate. That's really what it is.
Yeah, they call it Kempo karate.
Exactly. That's what we called it, but it has nothing to do with it. And yeah, we train in a gi, and there's kata, but if you ask an actual like karate purist, they're not doing karate. Now, I'm not a karate purist, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a dirty mutt. So I think anything is karate if you call it karate. So
well, karate just means empty-handed.
Exactly. So I'm like, anything could be karate if you do it the right way, right? Again, semantics. My point is that in terms of like categorizing things, I don't agree that Kempo should be called karate because it's just such a different method of practice and expression. Like it should be its own thing. And I'm not saying that because I don't want it to be besmirched by karate. I'm just saying it is unique enough that it should be considered its own method of training. To call it karate is just like saying all math is the same when it's not. Math is very different from discipline to discipline. It's all mathematics, but the practices can be very different, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Of course, you got calculus, you got algebra, you got whatever else they have in math world there.
Yeah, exactly.
But Kaju Kembo doesn't Kaju Kembo stand for Ka for karate, Ju for judo, and Ken for kendo? Kempo. Okay. So it's supposed to be a mix, basically. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, when you think about it, it sounds like mixed martial arts, really. But the style that you were doing resembled, it was a lot more Kempo. Is that correct?
There was a lot of Kempo in it. My instructor himself had a Shotokan black belt, so he respected a lot of the Kempo aspects that he was taught, but we did mostly Shotokan, which is why I can say I can see that Kempo is very different from karate because just the way we practiced it was very different. But going back to what I was saying, like practicing the judo, the jiu-jitsu, the kali, and then the Kaju Kembo, I realized that the weak link was the Kaju Kembo. It was that Kempo style method of training of like, I'm going to stand here in my bow stance. You're going to step forward, throw a punch at me, hold still. I'm going to throw 50 strikes at you to get you out of the way.
It'd be so cool if that was actually possible.
It would be amazing. If it worked the way you practiced it, everyone would do it. There would be no need to do anything else. But it doesn't work. Like, it's proven to not work. And I love my instructor, and I asked him, why do we do this if you know it doesn't work? Because when you spar, you don't do any of this stuff. And then he fed me some of the stuff of like, well, like some things are too dangerous to do in sparring. And I go, okay, great. Eye pokes and groin strikes, groin rips, back break techniques, I get it. Let's not practice those. We do so many other things in these techniques that don't appear in sparring, but are also not too dangerous to be done in sparring. I go, we spar, like in my gym specifically, this is not every single Kaju Kembo gym, but ours specifically, we spar in boxing gloves and shin guards, which means I can't rely on finger strikes or, I can't rely on anything but my fist. So why can't I handle myself in the way we spar? And he sat me down. He's like, listen, we really are just respecting the tradition. My instructors taught me this, and I want to carry it on. I know it's not practical, but we're doing it just to carry on tradition. And that's when I was like, all right, well, I'm not interested in carrying on a tradition. I want to learn to fight. So from there, I moved on. I still did judo from time to time. I still did jiu-jitsu when I could. I had a period of time in college where I was just kind of gym hopping. And I kept a good relationship with my instructor for the most part. Like with anybody you have a relationship with, you go back and forth on. But eventually I landed up on Muay Thai. I found a Muay Thai gym, and it's something I'd always wanted to do. And in fact, it was something I was encouraged to do by my instructor. He said, if you really want to learn to handle yourself on hands and feet, go do Muay Thai. And I did. And I fell in love with the practice. I fell in love with the simplicity of the practice. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Okay. So right now, do you have your own club, or you teach at a club, or?
I do. So I'm a full-time martial arts instructor. I teach Muay Thai and combatives out of Warrior Family Austin. So it's a Muay Thai gym, but they allow me to teach my self-defense and weightlifting out of there. But it's all under one roof, and I'm one of the partners there.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Have so you've been doing Muay Thai now for how long?
Be about 4 or 5 years this year. I started right when I finished college.
Okay. Okay. And like, have you ever fought in Muay Thai or kickboxing?
I've done one smoker in Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
Right about the time when I felt confident enough to do it was when the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just didn't really have time until this year started. Before that, I'd done a couple judo matches while I was in college, and then mostly point karate before that, because again, that was what was available in Kajikembo.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like me, I don't have like a big of a background in striking. Like my main thing is grappling,
Mhm.
but I grew up with watching like kung fu movies, Hong Kong action movies, Bruce Lee, obviously. That was like a really huge influence on me, and so I always wanted to be. I always liked striking, right? But I just wanted when I discovered BJJ when I was 30 years old. I just thought it was like, oh my God, this is like a secret weapon, at that time. So I really focused on that a lot. And yeah, but at this point, like, okay, I kind of understand grappling at this point. It's been, let's see now, 6 + 7, like 13 years in grappling. So at one point, it's like, okay, I know how to grapple and I know how to wrestle. And, so then, but there's something missing because a big part of me considers I'm a martial artist. So what I mean by that is that, to me, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about as well. It's like in my mind, like a martial artist, I put them in two categories, right? So I put them in like complete or incomplete. So in my mind, like a martial artist that's complete can fight anywhere. So not that he's amazing at everything, because that's practically impossible to do. You only have so much time. Like in a day, and you only have so many years, right? So, and we have other stuff to do. It's not like if we could just train 3-4 times a day and then sleep and wake up and do it again. So, but in my mind, like somebody who's complete understands grappling, and he might not be the best at it, but he's functional at it. So he understands how to get a takedown, how to stay on top, how to defend the takedown, whatever, understands submissions, understands, upper body work, going into the legs. He understands striking, he understands kicking. And of course he understands combatives, self-defense. He understands like that fighting in a ring is different from, having to defend yourself or getting some kind of altercation on the streets. And he understands that, like one-on-one is one thing, but then if you introduce a weapon to it, now you just complicated the thing to a big extent. Now, if you add in like a whole bunch of other factors like people, cars, noise, dogs, whatever, and then after that, it's about. I don't think that if you want to win in a war, because martial arts to me, it's more war than anything else. It's warfare.
It's right? In the name, Mars of war.
Exactly. So if you're gonna win a war, like obviously you want to have an edge, an advantage. Like you don't actually want to fight fair. Like why would you? It's it's not a sport. It's no longer a sport. So to me, martial art encompasses like a lot. Not just like one-on-one, with gloves and all that. So that's why I feel as though if you're and if you're incomplete, what it is that, okay, so now maybe you only do one specific aspect you train only one specific aspect of martial arts. Maybe you only do katas and forms and you do a lot of drilling and all that, but you don't actually, pressure test, or you don't actually spar. Maybe you do only striking, but you have no grappling, and so on. You don't have any awareness of, because fighting with gloves and fighting barehanded, completely different. Even like the difference with boxing gloves, I noticed. And then you put on MMA gloves, it changes everything. all of a sudden your hands are open like this, things just go through. You don't have the same guard. So, like, what's your take on that?
I think what I'm hearing right there is from a purely like practitioner's standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I have something I can do for the rest of my life because there's so much you can explore and so much you can get good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think just purely from the outpoint of someone who wants to practice something, this is great because it means you can spend a couple years practicing only your striking, some more years working only your grappling, then weapons, then you can work on sport fighting, then you can work on self-defense. There's a whole world of things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you that if you want to be considered a complete martial artist, you need to be a Renaissance man of martial arts. But by that same token, this is not true. This is what I'm saying for the sake of the argument. We know that Khabib does not have good boxing, but he doesn't need to, right? Like in terms of MMA, he's a monster at grabbing onto people and holding them down. So like, if is he an incomplete martial artist because that's his only thing? Like, I don't think anybody would say that, right? Like nobody would say Khabib is not a complete martial artist because he's very, very good at what he does.
Yeah, and I think he's able to carry that over in wherever he needs to.
Right.
He's able to make it work. So yeah, I see what you mean for sure.
But I think then we have a conversation about what does understanding mean. Like, I understand what takedown defense looks like. I understand what situational awareness is like. I understand it, but can I put it into practice and can I use it to my advantage? Right? Like, I don't think there's not outside of like I'm a specialist in this thing, and you're talking like a general practitioner who thinks he's using martial arts for safety or for work, whatever. I don't think there's a person who doesn't understand that if they're a grappler, that there's strikes that can happen. If they're a striker, that they can get taken down. If they're a boxer, that weapons might happen, right? Like everyone understands that these things happen. It's, are you realistically looking at your practice, and is your practice preparing you for those things? Honestly preparing you. Because go ahead.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, just because you can practice, and again, this is for the sake of a martial artist who is constantly pursuing perfecting a thing. If you practice, let's say, weapon retention, let's say you practice concealed carry and you are doing a drill where you need to keep your weapon on you, and that weapon is constantly taken away from you. You're not good at holding onto your weapon, but you understand what it takes to keep that on you. You're just not good at it. Would you still be considered a complete martial artist because you understand what it's like, but you just can't make it work?
I think that if you can't, okay, yeah. So that now you're throwing some nuance into it, and that's a good thing because that way it makes me think, right? And it makes me like reevaluate my whole thought process in regards to this. I try not to be conclusive about anything because I always find that I always end up being wrong at one point, and then I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, just change again. But I think that you need to be functional to a certain degree. If you understand something, but you can't do anything about it, right? Like if you understand that you have to hold onto your weapon, but you're not able to, then that tells me that it's that old adage, that Bruce Lee adage, right? Like knowing is not enough. We must, do, right? And then he said something else that resembles that.
He said a few things.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like, okay, yeah, you know that, but like if you can't, even if you understand that and you can explain that to me, oh yeah, well, you gotta be able to hold on to your weapon, but then if you're not able to do it, then I think it shows that you're you don't care enough about it, right, to actually practice it. So if you don't care enough about it, it makes you a I guess a incomplete martial artist. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like
It's not a
everyone's
bad thing.
you know,
If
to
I
a certain
can,
degree, right? It's on a scale. Like if I had to, if I had to really want to, like what's the word I'm looking for? Label people, right? It's not a strong label. It's like on a scale, like on
yeah,
a scale of 1 to 100. Okay, you're this much incomplete. You're this much complete. Whatever.
yeah,
So yeah, that's just my take on it. But also, I find that like you don't necessarily have to, because there's certain things you probably won't train for because you just don't feel the need to train for it. Kind of like self defense, right? So before you got on the podcast, like I was talking about, I was going through the list of stuff that that we're going to potentially touch on and talk about, because sometimes these subjects are, they could go on for a while, and I got like
mhm.
11 things here that I wanted to get your opinion on, but I mean, we'll get through what we could get through, right? With the
Right.
time we have. Oh, by the way, let me know when you got like maybe 15, 20 minutes left, right? Because I want to be respectful of your time, and
Oh,
also
are we?
you.
I'm good. I'm good. I don't know if we're on like a time limit thing with StreamYard, but I'm good.
Oh, no, 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 no. We're not on time limit. I'm just I'm just saying, like, if ever you have to go, like, let me know.
Cool, cool.
Right? Yeah, because I want to give you a couple of minutes afterwards to like shout yourself out and tell people where they can find you and your business and all that.
Cool, cool.
And, yeah. So where was I going? Oh yeah. so self defense. So before you got on, I was talking about like the whole self defense scene on YouTube, and I was telling the guys here, like, I feel as though it's they make too much of it. They make it like if it's a big thing, like to quote you a little bit, like there's a boogeyman at we're training to fight off the boogeyman, and the boogeyman is like every street corner he might pop out like one time out of two he's gonna be there to take your wallet and jump on you and do all kinds of bad stuff, right? And so I was talking about this one YouTuber that's actually here in Montreal. Like his name is Nick Drosos.
Grossos, yeah.
Drosos, yeah, yeah. So I like his content. Like I like the way he explain things. Like I've watched some of his videos and all that, and it's like, yeah, he shows stuff that's I find him, yeah, it's
He's got good stuff.
sense.
He does.
It makes sense, right? But then what, like, this is probably his experience, because everyone's talking from their experience, right? And from what they've seen, what they've been through, what they gathered, and all that. And it seems to me, I might be wrong here, but he makes it sound like Montreal, because that's where I'm at as well. Like it's such a dangerous place.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, what is this guy talking about, man? Montreal is there's nothing going on here. Like, okay, if you hang out like in bars, in after hours, if you go to like the ghetto, and there's not really a ghetto here. There's some parts that are like, okay, and you hang around a little corner where there's thugs and drug dealers or street gangs or stuff like that. Okay, sure. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty safe. So that's why I want to get your take on that, like the whole self defense thing. And but let's start with like the whole YouTube thing. What's your opinion on the whole YouTube self defense scene? You know?
I think the largest voices on self defense on YouTube are doing very good work. I think Urban Combatives is doing very good. Matt Larson is doing a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people doing very good work on self defense and keeping it real. And the problem is it's boring. Real self defense is boring because, like you just said, the best self defense is just don't go to the corner where someone just got stabbed. Don't hang out in bars in your closing time.
Mhm.
Don't, if you get in an argument with somebody, just, you're right, I'll see you later. Walk away. That's the best self defense.
Mhm.
Learning to diffuse a situation, read a situation, walk away from a situation is 100% can be the best self defense. But the problem is that doesn't sell. Those are soft skills that you're going to learn from a therapist, that you're going to learn from a linguistics expert, not from the guy wearing army fatigues and 1,000 tattoos running down his arm. That's not the guy that's going to teach you that. The person that's going to teach you that is the person with a lot of charisma who never gets into arguments with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side of that coin is the world, by and large, and you can look this up. This is not me saying this. This is literally a statistic. The world is safer now than it ever has been any other point in human history. So if you're getting into constant trouble, you're kind of looking for it in terms of the boogeyman on the street.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest names of self-defense on YouTube, I think, are doing a good job about being honest about that, saying this is the work that you have to do. It's not learning to throw a palm heel strike into someone's trachea. It's learning how to diffuse an argument before it escalates into violence. That's different. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, we have below the top tier, we have another category of self-defense experts on YouTube who are the guys that telling you there's a boogeyman on every corner. Do you have a car?
Me, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I want to sell you another car. You're going to buy, if I tell you I want to sell you a car, you're going to buy another one right now?
No, unless it's like an amazing deal or something like that. Like
it's a pretty good car, but let me tell you this: the car you have right now, the brakes are broken; they're shot, and your tires have no more tread on them. You're not going to be able to move, and your engine actually is 100 years old. It's going to die tomorrow. And I saw someone putting a box of snakes in your trunk last night. Do you want to buy my car now?
Yeah, I'd be open to a conversation. Yeah.
Okay. So you see what I just did there? You had a perfectly good car. You're pretty okay. You don't need to buy another one, but I had to convince you to buy my self-defense car. Because even though you've never been attacked before, or you've only been attacked once in your entire life, I got to convince you it's going to happen every single day for the rest of your life. And it's not going to be a situation you could have avoided. It's going to be 10 guys who all have 50 street fights, and they all have weapons, and their weapons have weapons, and their weapons have black belts. That's what I got to convince you of. That way, you'll subscribe to my channel, you'll buy my online course, you'll come to my gym, and I can teach you the same shit you're going to learn at a YMCA. Self-defense is a business. It is a bigger business than martial arts.
Yeah, 100%. And that's it's insane, right? Because what I feel like, okay, you know Krav Maga, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I find as though Krav Maga, like the problem I see with their the way they teach people, I find that they teach people to be on edge and ultra violent and ready to kill. And it's like, dude, do you really want to walk around ready to kill all the time and be on edge like that? You know, like, where do you live? Are you in jail? What's going on? You know?
Well, two things on
here's the thing. If you kill a bastard, you're going to jail. You know what I mean? It's like it's like what people don't understand is there's a thing called excessive force. Like if somebody's like, hey man, give me your wallet, you go, you crack his neck.
You're going to prison. Like there's no court that's going to say, oh yeah, that was reasonable. You're like,
like everything they teach in Krav Maga, it's like it goes over, you know, like what's reasonable, you know, in terms of you know, self-defense. It's like, okay, the guy pulls out a knife, you grab the knife and you stab him 5 times in his neck with his own knife. Okay, yeah, but now you just reversed the roles there and you became the, you know, the aggressor, right?
I would actually offer that my issue with Krav Maga, and I'm very apologetic about Krav Maga for a couple of reasons. I'm biased. My girlfriend's in the other room. She did Krav Maga for a couple of years, so she's going to kill me if I get too mean about it. But by and large, I also see that there is a cultural shift in Krav Maga as a whole. However, for the sake of this argument, I'm just going to say Krav Maga because we all know what we're talking about when we talk about that practice. My feeling with that kind of practice is, yes, if you take someone's knife and stab them 3,000 times in the throat, definitely not okay. But you're never going to do that anyway. My problem with Krav Maga style training like that is that they don't practice it in a way that makes it something you can actually do. 9 times out of 10, it's a very controlled, sterile environment where some guy slowly lunges at you with a knife and you take it away from him, turn around, and then you stab him way faster than he came at you. Or they go a little faster and you do get stabbed, but you ignore it because you're using a rubber knife and you go back and stab him anyway. The training isn't realistic. So it makes you think you're dangerous enough to take someone's weapon away and to put them in the ground, but you're not really. I would argue that an upper level jiu-jitsu blue belt is much more capable of killing somebody barehanded than your average Krav Maga practitioner who's been doing it 5 times a week for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Because
No.
the method of training in something like jiu-jitsu, which again, if you get a good rear naked choke in, someone's dying. Like, unless you're kind enough to let go, they're out. They're gone. The method of training in something like jiu-jitsu is much more realistic than something like Krav Maga. So my issue with Krav Maga is not that what they're teaching is too dangerous. It's that the way they're teaching it makes it just movie choreography. And that's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Like, it's very, it's a little bit too fancy, you know. It's not something you could practice under real pressure, because you're just gonna hurt you're gonna hurt your partner, and that'll be the end of it. And yeah, I think it really does give you like a false sense of security. So like at this stage where I'm at, I would actually, I wouldn't mind training in Krav Maga, like from an instructor who's really good at it and all, and who understands, to like show me, okay, like if somebody has a knife, like what is it that I have to be wary of? Like where are my arteries? Like what do I have to protect? What do I have to do? Obviously, you're gonna get cut up if you're gonna hang out there. Ideally you run or you pick up a weapon, in my opinion. Or I'd have to control that hand, but controlling that hand isn't always as easy as that sounds. It depends on a lot of things, like how big the dude is and all that stuff. So and learning like disarm techniques, something that you mentioned in one of your videos, that if something is to be a technique is to be actually practical and functional, you said that it has to be simple, right? Attributeless and likely to happen. I found that really enlightening, because sometimes, like, I've been taught by things by dudes who are like bigger and stronger, and they're telling me, no, you do this, you do that, and they do it on me, and it works because of the size difference, because
right.
of because they're a lot stronger, and they're able to. But then when I heard you say that, I was thinking back on the couple of times that happened to me where bigger guys were showing me stuff, and I'm like, wait, it works for you because you're that size, but you've been able to pull it off because you people tend to be smaller than you. But if you were to try that shit with a guy your size who knows how to fight, it probably wouldn't work. So getting back to what I was saying regarding Krav Maga, I think that, yeah, I'd be interested in learning practical things, right? Just to get an understanding of it, and drill it here and there. But I mean, I think that I would actually benefit more from it now, because I actually have like because I've been doing a lot of combat sports for a little while, than somebody who has like no background in any kind of combat sports training, and just like did it off the rip, like, oh, I gotta defend myself, I'm gonna go learn Krav Maga. I'm like, yeah, dude.
I'm not. This is gonna sound like a huge compliment to Krav Maga. And I don't want it to be, but it is. Going from having zero training in martial arts and then training in Krav Maga to learn how to protect yourself is like going from kindergarten to senior year of college. Like, that's what you just did. You went from bare minimum education to a higher level of education. And I'm not saying that because Krav Maga is so special and so good that you are not ready for it. I'm saying it because if you don't have a base level understanding of what generic fighting looks like and feels like, you can't pull off something like Krav Maga. And the same holds true for American Kempo. The same thing holds true for Aikido, for whatever. Any of those martial arts that just don't work in real fighting, it's because they ignore the hard work that generic fighting takes, that stand up, clinch, and ground take. So if you're asking me, like, I have never done anything in my life and I want to learn to defend myself, I'm going to point to boxing, judo, wrestling, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, those 5. I'm going to point to one of those 5, pick one.
Okay.
Oh, well, that doesn't teach me how to defend myself on the street. Stop getting in street fights. Like, you're not going to take the final exam for your high school class the first day. Like, go learn a discipline for a little bit, and you're going to realize right away, if you learn how to throw a straight 1-2 with 80% efficiency, you're going to have a huge leg up on everybody else that doesn't know how to do that. Then you add in how to throw someone to the ground. Then you add in how to choke them out. Then you add in any number of things that those 5 basic martial arts styles will teach you. You're going to be leagues above what anyone with no training and with only Krav Maga training can do. But then you have now spent, for the sake of argument, 10 years learning how to box. You've competed, you've won, you're doing pretty good. And you're like, you know what? I want to learn something more practical. I want to learn how to use all the weapons in my body. I want to learn how to deal with actual weapons. And maybe I want to do something more battlefield tested. Now you can go do Krav Maga, because now you've gone to first grade, second grade, third, fourth, fifth, all the way up to college. You're ready for that style of conversation. Because if you don't understand how generic fighting works, you're not going to be able to pull off anything that happens in something like Krav Maga or American Kempo or even some of the weirder karates. Like, you're just not going to. You have to know what basic fighting feels like.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, it's like you're graduating too fast, but then your foundation isn't set yet. So you're just gonna fall off your high horse.
Exactly.
You're in la la land thinking, oh man, I got all this knowledge. I can do all these things. Sure, you got the knowledge, but the thing is, you're missing everything.
So,
the whole foundation and the structure is nowhere to be seen. Can't even do it.
Not to go back to what we were talking about earlier, because I know we've got like 11 points to hit. But
hey, no, it's not. Hey, Rob, like, don't worry about the 11 points. We get through what we get through. It doesn't matter.
Cool.
Like the important thing is we have fun and we're talking. Those are just like things that I put there so that we have things to refer back to if all of a sudden we don't know what to talk about. But it usually never happens with somebody like me. I always have a big mouth and talk a lot.
No, I get it. I like to talk too. I like to hear myself talk. So I get it. No, but I was going to say, going back to your point earlier about a complete versus incomplete martial artist. Technically speaking, a general Krav Maga practitioner should be a complete martial artist, right? Because they do practice striking, they practice wrestling, they practice grappling on the ground, they practice weapons, they talk about self-defense. Like, they do all the things you said are required. But we know for a fact that the general Krav Maga practitioner isn't prepared for that kind of stuff in any level. So I would argue that the conversation isn't what makes a complete or incomplete martial artist. The question really is, what makes an honest martial artist? Honest versus dishonest. Because an honest martial artist will be able to look at themselves and say, I'm not good at this, this, and that, so I need to go practice this, this, and that. A dishonest one will say, oh, I've never taken a fight in my life before. I don't even spar, but we talk about it in my class. And I know I would just poke him in the eyes and strip the gun from his hand and beat him over the head with it. So I understand what fighting is like. It's not complete versus incomplete. It's honest versus dishonest. Because again, going back to what we were talking to earlier, you said you want to take Krav Maga to learn how to handle someone with a knife, right?
Yeah, and gun and stuff like that. Because I think that would be the next level up, in the sense that, okay, I know how to punch, I know how to grapple, I know how to throw people down, I know how to I understand submissions. Yeah, obviously I'm not the best, but I'm at a level where I would consider myself in grappling. I would say advanced. In striking, I would say somewhere like beginner, but more towards intermediate at this point. Let
me ask you
something that I still want to work on. But now, like, the next step up for me, like of understanding and training, is going to come like in the form of, well, I want to understand weapons.
Let me ask you this. We're on camera, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to take this hand. We're in a judo context, right? Judo context. I'm going to take this hand. I'm going to grab your collar. What are you going to do?
Wow, I wouldn't have let you grab the collar anyway. But let's say you did grab it.
No. Continue. I'm reaching. I'm only going to use this right hand. I'm only going to try and grab your collar up by the ear. What are you going to do?
Oh yeah, I'm not. I would get that hand. I would control that hand.
How?
Well, I would move back and I would grab it.
Right? Grab it how?
Grab it how? Here.
Yeah.
Underneath here.
Underneath here.
And I would push. I would pull it down. I would angle it off to the side, because if you have that hand coming to me, like basic judo is like, okay, I move back, I grab that hand, I push it across your body here. If your hand is like this, if your arm is like this, you're not going anywhere. You're gonna want to square up to me. Once you square up to me, then I could either hit you or throw you. And my positioning will be as such where once I grab this hand here, I'm moving off to the side here. I'm gonna catch an angle on you. I'm gonna have that control. So that would be my reaction because it's a judo thing.
Why did you move off to the side?
Oh, it's an angle. It's
because, what does the angle do though?
It puts me in a position to mess you up.
What does it do to my position?
Oh, it's horrible. Now you just because I'm off center, you don't see me anymore. You're like you're looking here and I'm here, and then you gotta the time that it takes you to turn and face me, then I would have already done something. Either go for a takedown or maybe I've struck you, right? That's
what about if I only ask by you moving off that angle, what did you do to my right hand?
I moved it, deflected.
Moved it.
Yeah.
So if I reach for this, I take my hand and try to reach for you, you're going to move my hand over here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I catch it on time. If you end up grabbing me, and
right? Obviously, all of this is.
But if I see it coming, then yeah, I'm gonna catch it. I'm gonna move it across here because that's what I do in judo. It's a natural reaction.
What if I reach for your neck like this?
Oh yeah, well I would step back.
Why would you do anything different than what you did with judo? Why would you not?
I would step back and I would still
take me at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
You put me at a disadvantaged angle, put yourself in an advantage angle.
Well, it depends. See, if I saw the knife, I would be a lot more wary about like catching that knife. Like if I saw that blade, I'd be like, oh shit. And that's the thing. Like this is like a thing that I keep in mind when it comes to self-defense. Like if there's somebody, I always look at the hands. Because if I could see their hands and their feet, okay, that means they're at it. I could see what's coming potentially. So if I see what's in the if the guy's hand has something in it, obviously I'm going to be a lot more wary of how I'm going to try and catch the hand. I'll probably end up kicking him.
But you just taught me how to deal with weapons. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
When I said I was going to reach for your hand, when I was going to reach for your head, you pulled out of the way, pushed my arm out of the way, took an angle, controlled my arm.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't any different. Even if it's got a point on it, you just have to be more accurate with your timing.
Yeah,
right?
and my distance.
Mm-hmm. And your distance. So you know how to defend yourself from weapons.
Mm.
You just don't know that you know how to do it. The stakes are way higher if someone has a weapon because it's pass fail, right? You either pass and succeed or you fail and you die.
Yeah.
But the training is the idea is the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You need to get away from the pointy end, put him in a position where he can't hit you or can't strike you or can't cut you, and secure that weapon, right?
Yeah, you can't lose an eyeball while you're fighting,
Exactly. Now, realistically, if you're in a situation where you know that I'm coming at you with this, you failed a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there's no such thing as a knife fight. There's only a stabbing. Right?
Yeah.
So if there's a situation where you know that I have a knife and I'm coming at you, things are different. But if you're already in that situation, if you're in that situation where for whatever reason I showed you that I have this and I'm coming at you and you can't avoid it and you can't run away from it, then just Krav Maga is going to say just do the exact same thing you did in judo. And the risk of failure is way higher. The punishment for failing is way higher, but you're going to have to do the same thing. And that's the thing people don't understand about weapons. It's not that the techniques and the tactics are different. It's that the risk reward is way higher. I can be way less skilled once I put something in my hand. That's why human beings invented tools. We wanted something to make us stronger, deadlier, and faster. That's why we invented tools. Because I don't want to have to sharpen my hand to be able to cut you. I'd rather just grab a knife to do it or grab a stick to beat you with.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be less skilled and you have to be even more skilled. That task can be daunting. It can be absurd how good you have to be at speed and timing and accuracy and technique, but you're going to have to do it if you really want to learn to defend yourself from weapons. Or the thing that I always tell my students is, if you're worried about how to defend yourself from a weapon, don't let it come out in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if someone wants to stab you, you're stabbed. That's the end of it. If they don't want to stab you, but they draw their weapon, or they show you their weapon, it's because they want something else from you.
Yeah, they either want you to back off or they want your wallet or whatever.
Right.
You know? They're just trying to like.
And in that case, it's give them your wallet. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like you said, you always watch someone's hands and feet. If you see my hand going here and you decide it's go time, you got to beat my hand from here to here. Right? Beat it from there to there.
Oh yeah, just punch him.
punch him or secure it, right? Take it.
Exactly. You know,
that's the only way this works. Like you either don't let me get my hand on my weapon, don't let me bring it out, get away before I bring it out, or if you're at the worst case scenario where it's already coming towards you, you're going to have to fall back to your training. And Krav Maga is not going to teach you differently. They're just going to show you what you already know. That's why I'm saying Krav Maga is the college level course, because you already know that stuff. You just have to be shown that you know it.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, that makes sense because like even if you had something in your hand, I mean, I would have to react the same way. I'd have to be, of course, the risk factor and the stakes are all of a sudden like, become very serious. But I mean, essentially it's the same thing, like controlling the hand, getting out of the way, closing the distance, and taking the person down or whatever. Yeah. And as long as you control that hand, like there's no problem.
Yeah.
Unless he has a second knife, then you're
if he's got two knives, we're in trouble. But again, it's like I said, like if you're at a situation where someone's already coming at you with a knife, that's worst case scenario anyway.
Yeah, you're getting stabbed, Yeah. I like what you said there. There's no such thing as a knife fight. There's just a stabbing. And if you have a knife and he has a knife, well, you're both gonna stab each other, and someone's gonna bleed out and die. That's how it's gonna work. I like that. So it gives a more realistic perspective to what that's gonna look like. Instead of thinking, I'm gonna train in knife fighting, like Filipino, stick fighting and martial arts. They do a lot of knife fighting stuff and all that. How realistic do you think that is? Like. Because it looks like it makes sense, like I'm gonna block it, I'm gonna cut here, I'm gonna cut here, I'm gonna cut here. It's like two guys with knives, and supposedly I think it was in one of your videos or maybe another one where like they talk about like, oh yeah, it was actually in one of your videos, that like okay, you have a knife and the other guy has a knife, and in Philippines like everyone walks around with knives. It's just in their culture or something.
Yeah. Filipino martial arts, by and large, the people are weapon ready. They all the same way that everyone in Texas carries a gun, everyone in the Philippines carries a knife or has access to one. That's just what it is. So I can't deny that they know how to use that weapon. Where I take issue with Filipino martial arts practitioners, who are the worst people on the internet, by the way, from every corner of the planet, white, black, Asian, Filipino, Latino, whatever. If you practice Filipino martial arts, you are insufferable on the internet because by and large, they don't understand that what they're practicing, the way they're practicing, is meant to be like practicing your multiplication tables. The flow drills, the sensitivity drills, all the fun choreography that they do with the knives, that's not what knife fights look like. And the smart people know that. The smart practitioners understand, like, this is just a teaching tool. I am clashing sticks or knives with my partner because the alternative is cutting off his hand. Like I can't, like you said earlier, like if you practice too hard with your partner, you don't have a partner anymore. Same thing. Filipino martial arts replaces hitting your partner with hitting the stick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's why it looks all like fancy and very, very Hollywoodish, Like, you're like, ta, 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 ta. Like, oh my God, what are these guys doing? Are they really that good that they could, like, the guy's going for his head and they're blocking it and then they're hitting this guy and the guy blocks it again? No, it's actually drills that they're practicing.
It's drills. It's multiple things. It's a dance. It's choreographed dance. You're learning valuable skills within it, but it's a dance.
Yeah, because it's not going to look like that at all. Like, it's probably going to look more like two samurais going at it, where they're just studying each other for a long time, and then they go. One's gonna miss, one's gonna catch the other one. Dead. Finish.
Yeah. And the thing is, like within that, there's a lot of practice. Like it's not like samurai don't train to fight with swords, right? It's not they don't train, is that the training makes it so that a micro adjustment from here to here is the difference between life and death.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Filipino martial arts. But the problem is that's boring if we have to practice just going block someone's arm, turn and cut the neck. If we have to do just that forever, people are going to get bored very quickly. But if you do block someone's arm, cut the neck, come back, stab them in the rib, come back under the same arm, roll it down, wrench them to the ground, well, that's a little bit more fun. That looks cool. I did this whole like arm break thing. I hit him and then I threw him to the ground. That's pretty cool.
It's kind of like Kempo karate. And you're like,
Yeah.
You're just drumming on the guy and doing 50 hit combo.
Yeah.
But in reality, it would just take you one hit or two, and
one or two
it would be over.
If we're talking about knives, once we talk about sticks, the game starts to look very different. So yeah, I put out my video with Metrolina Martial Arts about Kali, and I got lambasted across the internet because, like I said, Filipino martial arts guys, y'all suck. For this one specific reason. Can you, outside of Manny Pacquiao, can you name a Filipino fighter?
Oh boy.
And I'll make your life harder. Can you name a Filipino stick or knife fighter? They don't exist. There's no person of accord who is on record having killed someone with a stick or knife. No one.
Wait. Does Danny Santo count?
Nope.
No?
Okay.
Nope.
He's a Filipino, and he's a Filipino martial artist, but he has never killed anyone with a stick or knife. And yet, every FMA practitioner on the planet will tell me, you should go challenge this 80,000-year-old man with zero fight record. He'll kill you. I'm like, no, he won't. He's never fought before. He's done these drills thousands of times, and he's very good at them, but he's never fought, and neither have you. Or if you have, it doesn't look like your drills.
Mm-hmm.
There's one instance on the internet of what Kali looks like in practice, and it's the Dog Brothers. And that's the first group of people to tell you that practicing flow drills doesn't translate to fighting ability. Because what their hardcore sparring videos look like is two guys wildly swinging sticks at each other, and then one guy closing the distance, then going for an osodogari or an ogoshi, or just wrenching his arm to the ground.
So it's starting to look like basically traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, you know?
Yeah, that's what it is. Because you know what happens when I swing a stick at you? You make me want to stop swinging a stick at you. Even if you have one too, you don't want me to use it anymore.
Yeah, you don't want to be like swinging back and forth and taking shots, right? Like you want to eventually figure a way to close that distance, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody on my page was telling me, you should watch that. You should see the Dog Brothers. They fight using Filipino martial arts. I'm like, no, they fight using wrestling with a stick in their hand. It's different. And by their own admission, talk to the actual founders of the Dog Brothers. They will tell you our training doesn't look like what Filipino martial arts training typically looks like. Because again, the smart people understand that a flow drill, a super long combo is a demonstration and it's representative of training, but it is not the training.
Yeah, so that just makes me feel, because that was something I wanted. I felt that might have been worth exploring later on down the line when I have more time. Like stick fighting, because it just looks so cool, and I'm like, oh man, if I could do this, I grab a stick and I could just ultra combo a guy to death, and then beat up like 20 guys, like in the street, no problem, right? But now that now that we talk about it, I'm like, man, it sounds like a waste of time.
I wouldn't say it's a waste of time. My Kali instructor told me, he separated it into different things. He goes, if you want to be able to fight using a knife, just pick up a knife. Because if you want to throw a 20-hit combo with your knife, hold it in front of you and then go like this. Because no one's going to take that away from you. If you have a 4-inch knife and you're just swinging it and walking towards someone, they're going to get cut up. There's no such thing as a knife fight. There's only a stabbing. If you're just going like this with a blade in your hand, you're a Kali fighting expert. Stick is a little different. The stick requires a little more nuance. So in that regard, I would say learning Kali is worth it, because learning how to fight with a stick or a long blade like a machete does take some actual practice. And there's a lot of useful skills that come from learning that. I think the basics of any given martial art, doesn't matter what it is, the foundational basics that you learn within your first year are the only things you really need to practice. That being said, Kali, Eskrima, whatever, they have typically 12 angles. Well, they have 6 angles and then 6 more stabbing angles. So they typically will cut diagonal up and down, cut horizontal, and cut straight down the line.
Yeah,
that's
and
typically that.
You know,
and the stabs are the same thing. If you learn those things and learn how to create max velocity and learn what to target with and learn how to keep someone from stopping you from doing that, I think that's more than enough to learn how to stick fight. But it's much more difficult than people think it is.
Yeah, because now like when to be able to generate speed, power, you know, and not to be off balance, to use proper footwork and angles, now we're going back to fundamentals again, once again. Like if you're not able to do that without, like, you know, that knife in your hand, you can't move your body around properly because you don't have the training, then yeah, you're not gonna be able to pull it off when the time comes, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, yeah, because I always felt that like, I think I could figure. I've always thought to myself, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm holding a pen, a stick. I'm like, I think I could probably figure this out, man. Like it doesn't seem that complicated. It's just body mechanics, you know. Like I hit the guy here. Well, obviously I want to come back, so I gotta angle my body this way, take a step back, bam, bam, bam. So I always thought about that, but then I didn't want to be cocky about it, you know, and be like, oh, you know, I know everything kind of thing. And no, I thought, no, maybe these guys, you know, they've been doing it for a while, so they might actually understand what they're doing, and there's something more to it. But now that we're talking and all, I think I'm starting to see that actually I might be in a better position to.
Well, the thing of it is,
because I know how to move my body. Obviously, I would have to like get in a little bit of practice and you know, like hang out, like walk around with a stick for a little while or a knife. But I already have like foundation because of combat sports.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's becoming a generic fighter, like we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. If you have a good foundational base of just fighting in any range, adding on to it, because I would say Kali isn't the same thing of being like a college level course, but you got to get your high school diploma first. If you, personally, and this is not an original thought of mine, I'm taking this actually from Dax Cordero of Weaponized Boxing. I think if you get a good boxing footwork base, your stick and knife fighting is going to go through the roof way faster than anyone who's only coming from a stick fighting basis. Because stick fighting really is about me putting my weapon at a point where I can hit you and you can't hit me back. Either by defanging the snake and taking away your weapon, or by putting myself at an angle that you can't hit me from. Like you said, turning him across while you're behind him. Well, that's boxing. That's what boxing means. People think boxing means punching. It doesn't, because if it did, we would just call it punching. Boxing means positioning yourself where you can strike and your opponent can't. In this case, we're referring to doing it with your fists, but it's the art of taking angles. So really, you could think about Filipino martial arts as the art of using angles. Boxing is the art of taking angles. And everyone can have boxing. Judoka have boxing. Jiu-jitsu players have boxing. Everyone can do it. If your game is based on putting yourself at an advantage and him at his disadvantage, you're boxing. You're just not using your fists as your weapon. Yeah,
even in wrestling. Like I've been wrestling now for 2 years. Like I realized that the best way to go about it is to catch an angle. And even in judo, I'm like, okay, you got to catch an angle. You know, that's how you're able to set up your throws properly. Obviously, you get your grips and all that, but you know, still. And even in striking, it's about your angles. So everything is about your angles. Like when you want to take down somebody, unless it's pure wrestling and guys just like you could bulldoze it, you could do a power double and smash your head right into the guy's chest kind of thing. But in MMA, when you do like that same takedown in MMA, you actually don't want to do that. Like you actually want to, because if you do that, you're going to get guillotined. That's what's going to happen, you know? And if you have it where you're going for a takedown, but your head is in front and your hips are in the back, then he could guillotine you, and you could smash. And on the way down, you can crack your head on the candidate. So that's not too good either. So where was I getting at? Yeah. So when you do a takedown, after that, it's about cutting the angle. Like if you want to take the guy down, then be in top position and have a good control and not have to work too hard. It's about catching an angle, because then you have an advantageous position because you have that angle, and then the guy's just going to fall. It's not going to take much. Whereas if you just go straight in like that, man, the guy can, if you got a strong guy, he's going to sprawl out and he's going to try and lift you back up if he has his underhooks and all. So all that to say that, yeah, angles are so important. And I find it's because there's so many things to learn at the beginning when somebody's starting martial arts, when they're doing some kind of any martial arts for that matter. So that something seems to come like at a later stage, of their development. Once they get comfortable doing like the basics, that's when all of a sudden it seems as though like then they start like understanding angles. But I think that if you can be taught differently and understand angles a lot sooner, but I think it's going to depend on the instructor.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think teaching methodology is so important, and really this is an idea that I've been kicking around for a little bit. What ultimately is a style? What separates judo from catch wrestling? Like really, aside from a couple techniques, which like we know that judo lost a lot of its leg lock attacks when it wanted to become an Olympic sport. So like at a bare minimum, let's say judo and wrestling techniques are basically the same. What makes them different? Why are they different styles?
Like judo and wrestling?
Yeah, like what makes them different? Why do we have different words for them?
Well, this is going to sound kind of silly, but this is just me. And sometimes I'm like that. Well, one's Japanese and the other one comes from, the Greeks, right? Originally.
Sure.
So it's a culture thing, I think. Japanese had the gi, so, and judo came from, a style of jiu-jitsu, basically. Whereas wrestling, I don't know, the Greeks invented it, so I'm not sure how they went about that. But I mean, it's kind of a natural thing for us to grapple, because we're essentially apes, right? So,
sure.
We have hands and all that. We grab onto things. But yeah, I can't come up with anything smarter to say than that.
No, it's pretty intelligent. That is literally why they're different, right? Because they came from different parts of the world at different times. Mm-hmm. That is literally why they're different. But let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. In a world where we have to separate them, where we have to say judo, and let's say we're doing no-gi judo and wrestling, where we have to make them different. The only thing that makes them different, that makes one style different from the other, is the teaching methods, is the practices. Because a throw is a throw, a lock is a lock. Things do not change no matter what time period and what part of the world you live in. A blast double is a blast double. You might call it something different because you're from Japan, and I might call it something different because I'm from Greece, but it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that separates style A from style B is the way they practice something. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people get caught up on thinking that their technique is what makes their style special, and it's just not. Because if you have, let's say, 5 martial arts styles, and 4 of them have the exact same techniques, but one of them has something that doesn't exist, that one style is not the best style. That's the one that doesn't work. Because the other 4 have decided these are the things that work. Mm-hmm. But the reason we have so much diversity is because there's so many different ways to teach something. There's so many different ways to get reps, to convey a message from teacher to student.
And then, before I forget, I want to add to that. It depends on the teacher. Like in the sense that, like, if a teacher has certain attributes, let's say he's really strong or he's really fast or he's really flexible, he's going to teach it his way. And then the way he's gonna teach it it might not actually uh, be the ideal way for that student to use it, because that student might be different. He might not be as strong. He might not be as fast. He might not be left-handed or right-handed or whatever. He might actually prefer to to take things to the ground as opposed to whatever. You see what I mean? And I think that's why I've come to realize this now, that katas might actually be important. So because I'm currently learning the Nagino kata for the judo, to pass my judo black belt exam. And what I've come and for the longest time I was like, oh man, I'm not really excited about doing this. It sounds like a waste of time, but I had to do it to get my black belt if I want to be officially a black belt under the federation and all. So I'm like, okay. And everyone was telling me just do it, and then anyways you could forget it afterwards. Who cares? Like, none of us know it. None of us remember anything. None of us know the names. Doesn't matter. As long as you know how to fight. And then so I was like, I was of that mindset. And then as I started learning the kata, people were explaining to me, well, actually kata could actually make you better, make your judo actually better. I'm like, what do you mean? It's just, and I've had a bad taste in my mouth left from doing kung fu for 2 years. So I did this style called Shaolin Hungar.
Hey, I did some Hungar. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, the animal style. You got the tiger, you got the snake, you got the crane, you got all those cool things. And I did that for 2 years, and all I learned was forms upon forms upon forms, and like I was good. I knew like a whole bunch of them. I knew them all by heart. And then at the end of the 2 years, I was like, yeah, but I don't know how to fight yet. I feel as though like I would know what to do. Like I don't know how to punch. I don't know. And so then from there, like I branched. I went and did Taekwondo instead. But anyways, so that's why I feel as though forms. For the longest time, forms to me were like complete nonsense, pure garbage. Even Bruce Lee was talking like talking smack about it. He was saying, this is just pure nonsense and blah 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 blah. But I think he might have missed the point there. From now what I understand is that the way kata makes you better is that you understand like where the technique comes from. Well, it's like, to me, it's the equivalent of learning your ABCs, right? So once you learn how to you understand ABCs, and then you can put words together, and then you can make sentences, and you can write a story. You could do a lot of things with that. Now, if I teach you how to talk, which is I teach you how to fight, the equivalent, but I don't teach you how to read and write, how are you going to pass down that information? You're going to pass it on the way you go about it, the way you talk, the way you think it sounds, but you're not actually, it just gets convoluted and it changes. And so you lose the original version of it. So katas, that's what it was meant for. Like from where I'm standing right now, and from my current level of understanding, is that's what it's for. It's to teach you the principles, the ABCs of the technique. After that, obviously, you modify it. You modify it for fighting. You modify it to your body, to your attributes, to your strengths, to your weaknesses, and you play around with it. You can mix and match, but you have to know the ABCs. It's actually going to make you not only a better judoka, but a better teacher as well.
Let me ask. I agree with you. But let me ask you this.
Oh, it's so boring as shit.
No. Well, hold on, though. Hold on. Do babies learn to talk by learning their ABCs, or do they just mimic what their parents did?
Mimic. Pure mimic.
Your kid is going to talk to you way before he learns how to read or write, right? Mm-hmm. But like you said, learning the alphabet, learning grammar, learning sentence structure, learning how to take pen to paper, that's giving him nuance and refining his language. But he already knows how to speak. Fighting is the same way. And it's like what we said earlier. You got to learn how to fight first before I can teach you how to write with fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you learn your alphabet, if you try to teach a kid an alphabet first, he's never going to speak. He's not. So I'm with you. Like I thought kata was useless for the longest time, but I realize now that it's a teaching tool, and if you teach it as everyone's got to learn it, and I don't know why I'm teaching it. Something about foundation, something about basics. I don't really know what that means, and I'll be honest, I don't know what basics kata teaches you, because I don't think it teaches you basics. I think it teaches you advanced shit.
Yeah, you might be right about that. You might, because now that I'm thinking about it, man, I'm getting like I thought I knew how to do stuff, because I do it and it works for competition, it works for me, and everyone's like, yeah, you're doing it fine. But then when you go, when I go to this other club that I'm going to where I go learn my kata, man, I'm being corrected like every 10 seconds. Every little thing I'm doing, it's like, no, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And they were explaining to me why it's wrong. Well, some people did, some people didn't. But the ones who did made me realize, man, this is pretty complicated, man.
Yeah.
So I think you're absolutely right about that. It's actually advanced because there's a lot embedded in it. Whereas, yeah. So if you try to teach somebody kata, but they can't understand it because they don't actually even know how to talk yet or fight, then you're just complicating their lives for nothing.
You're building a paper tiger. You're making them think after you master this kata, you're going to know how to fight. But you're not telling them how they're doing that. And you're not doing anything that's making them good at fighting. Now, a lot of gyms will concurrently practice kata and basic techniques and sparring and say the three of them make a well-rounded fighter. I think that's bullshit. I think practicing fighting the way fighting is going to look makes you a good fighter. I think you need, at minimum, those two. And kata can come later. Refining technique requires having technique in the first place. Let me ask you this. Obviously, your account is OG Fitness. I'm assuming you deadlift?
I used to, yeah.
Okay. What was your max?
At the height, I think it was 3 plates. So
3 plates, okay.
315 at the height of it.
What was your starting deadlift? Like when you first started working out, what was your starting?
Oh man, when I started, I think I started with probably like 25 pounds, like a plate of 25 on each side.
So 95 total.
Yeah, exactly. 45, exactly, 95.
So if we're talking to the guy who started with 95 and the guy who's doing 315, which do you think is more important? The ability to progress from a 95-pound deadlift to a 315-pound deadlift, or to increase from a 315 to a 325? Because kata is that last 10 pounds.
Okay.
But everything else is the big jump. And this is what pisses me off about kata guys, that they're like, oh, your hand was here, but it should have been here instead. And I'm like, yeah, that would make my life a little bit easier, but you can't throw me either way, so what's the difference?
Okay. Yeah. No, I get that a lot too. Like some guys are telling me, sorry about this. I'm getting some weird messages in the chat room, and it's people trying to advertise nonsense. So I'm just gonna like block these fools.
Just ignore them. There we go.
Yeah. No, it's kind of like some kind of crazy advertisement for like X-rated stuff. So I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those bots.
The bots. Yeah, no, but so getting back to what we're saying. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Like that, it's that the katas are like the 315 to the, I don't know, whatever, 350. Let's say, that super refined thing.
It's good. It's important, but it's not all of it.
Yeah, but if you can't even deadlift like 95 pounds properly, like forget about that for now.
Yeah. Right? Well, because then if we're talking about someone who's only got a 95-pound deadlift, increasing to 115 is not that big of a jump. Not when I could get you to 315,
Yeah.
Like if we just show up every day and we just do 5x3 a couple times, you'll get to 315 within a couple months. Or I could really focus on putting your hands over your shins, making sure you're inhaling at the right time. And now in 7 weeks, you'll go from 95 to to 97 and a half. Like, that's what kata is. That's what kata is.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But it's not that that's useless. It's that that's only useful for people who already know how to fight. It's only useful for people who already have a 315 deadlift.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is that a lot of the people who get to that, who dedicate themselves to kata, actually suck at fighting. It's very rare that you'll find like a high level competitor fighter, judoka, like all that also specializes in kata. And I just found out recently, like I actually met one recently, like he was a very high level competitor, and he's currently like showing me some kata along with my partner, the one I'm going to do the exam with. And this guy, wow. But I think he did exactly what you talked about. So he built himself up as a fighter, and then that came later. I'd have to double check, but I would bet money on it. Like that's what happened, because he started teaching and all that, so he had to obviously stay up to date and keep the knowledge fresh within his head, because he had to show it all the time and all. But but he's one of the exceptions, because like my coach, who was 2 times in the Olympics, if I told him, hey, show me the kata, he'll be like, dude, go on YouTube, man.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it, Obviously, like, he's done it and he probably remembers and all, but I mean, yeah.
But what your coach is saying to you at that point is, it's more important that I get you from 95 to 315 than I get you from 315 to 325. Like, it doesn't matter what the small detail is if you're not good at the big details. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, styles are teaching methods. And if you have a good instructor who understands what he's trying to teach, and understands that I have to communicate what I'm trying to say to you so you can do it to the best of your ability, then maybe kata is the way that I can get you to understand that. But if I'm just beating a dead horse, yelling at a wall, saying do kata because it's the basics, and it's not working for you, then a good instructor will stop doing it.
I say do katas when you're injured.
That's another good one, right? Again, a good instructor will say, all right, you can't physically work with a human being. Let's put you against the air. Let's get you that 95 to 95 and a half pound increase, because that's all we can do right now. And something is definitely better than nothing.
Oh yeah, let's go work on minutia. Let's work on like very pointy details about stuff that we can refine while your knee is busted up and all, and or your shoulder or whatever the case may be. But I think yeah, because I remember having this conversation with somebody. Oh, by the way, somebody said in the comments, really fantastic conversation, y'all.
That's my co-star. That's Tracy.
Oh, that's Tracy. Okay. I was wondering. I was like, why is there a girl on my phone?
Why is there a girl? That's because of me.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And somebody said, hey guys, how are you? Yeah, we're doing good.
What's up, TH?
Yeah. Oh, wait, some guys are actually posted a couple of questions here, and I'm not used to like seeing comments and doing podcasts at the same time, because I used to do my podcasts over Zoom. So it would just be me and the dude talking. It wasn't live. And then now, like, because it's live, there's people in the chats and all that. So some people are posting stuff. So let me just see what the guys are asking here. Oh, okay. So this is I think this was when we were talking about Krav Maga. I'll actually wait. You can see this, right? If I put this up here.
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah. There you go. What about Paul Vunak? I've seen him around for decades, but never checked him out.
Paul Vunak is a Jeet Kune Do stylist, if I remember. He's Jeet Kune Do Concepts, I want to say. A real OG, especially of the internet martial arts boom.
Okay.
I think he also is a pretty big name in Filipino martial arts.
Okay. So he can't fight. Got it.
That's not what I'm saying. Listen, I
Well,
didn't say that. I'm not disagreeing, but no.
but you,
No.
you kind of imply that people who specialize in Filipino martial arts might suck.
They can, from what I've seen from Paul Vunak, and I know he has an extensive background in actual hand-to-hand fighting. What I've seen tends to be a lot of the flowy kind of Filipino martial arts, flow drills.
Mhm.
And this is kind of the issue that I have with a lot of this stuff on the internet. I won't just say on YouTube because this predates YouTube.
Mhm.
But I see a discrepancy between what a person can do and what they teach.
Mm.
Going back to attributeless stuff, going back to my 3 principles of fighting, of self-defense, of a technique, right? I think another attribute is just aggression and overall pressure, right? And I think just someone having a natural kind of killer instinct and being able to do something through martial arts, through fighting, is often ignored. And I'm not saying it's ignored by their fans or by their students. It's ignored by the person themselves. Like you said earlier, a bigger, stronger, faster person can make almost anything work, regardless of what their skill is.
Mhm.
And that's a problem when it's your training partner, but it's a real problem when it's the instructor. When the instructor doesn't understand that what he can do is not what he's teaching, that I think is a big problem, is a big issue. And I think I don't have a definitive answer on Paul Vunak. I haven't done that much work on him.
Mhm.
Just based on what I've seen, he kind of teaches in a way where he doesn't, at least what I've seen, doesn't seem to connect with what he's able to physically do. Like he shows
Yeah.
techniques and drills that won't actually make you like him.
Mhm. Mhm.
But he can get away with doing those drills because he's that good.
Okay. Okay. But wait, you're saying that like he's able to do drill like he does things that he might not. He teaches things that he might not be able to do.
He teaches things that won't make you able to do the things he can do, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, because yeah, certain attributes that you might not have.
Right.
Right.
Like going back to our standard kind of comparison here,
Mhm.
I can repeat, recite, and sing the alphabet song all day long, and I can make you do it the exact same way I do it. But that won't make you any better at talking the way that I talk,
Mhm.
right? Like let's say for whatever reason you think I have a beautiful speaking voice. The way I frame sentences, you're like, man, this guy's like the greatest speaker I've ever heard. And I say, here's how you do that. You just repeat the alphabet song 30 times a day. You're going to take me on my word because, well, I'm the one doing it, so obviously that works. And I used to repeat the alphabet song, so it worked for me. The disconnect is that practice isn't helping me in what I'm able to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it.
I also want to say it's hilarious that I say I'm the greatest speaker of all time, and then I'm like, did I make any sense with what I just said?
I'm sure. I'm sure it did to somebody, and for some other people, it probably
I'm hoping
less. You know. Okay, so like, hey, you know more about Paul Vunak than me. This is the first time I heard of him.
I really did not. He was kind of proto YouTube, like early days of the internet was when I became aware of him, and I wasn't really like blown away by anything he's doing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that in this day and age, like if we haven't heard about you, then because the internet, right? I mean, everybody knows everybody. And so
There's
yeah.
there's a lot to be said of if your name isn't like in the top 10 names that people go to. There's kind of a reason for it, right? And again, I'm not saying he's a bad martial artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not saying he's not a good fighter. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying I haven't done that much research on him, and maybe there's a reason for that, but I could be wrong, and I'm open to that being the case.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, what's your one thing I want to touch on as well is sparring, right? Because I watched a couple of your videos regarding sparring, and I want to get a little bit more deeper into that because how do you get somebody from how would you approach sparring? Like you grab a complete beginner And like you said, right, the best way to get good at fighting is to fight. You know, you can't just do katas and shadow box like, forever, But how do you do it? How would you set it up? How do you do it for your students to make it so that they progress properly and they don't just get busted up? Because I see that a lot um, in clubs and all, is that it's either they don't do any sparring or they get thrown into the wolves and they have a horrible experience and they never want to do it again. Then they go back and they do jujitsu.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking purely how to introduce someone to striking sparring.
Yeah. Like kickboxing, Muay Thai, or even boxing, for that matter.
This is in a general term what I would do, and I think every person is different. Everyone needs different ways to jump into sparring. But in a general term, here's what I would do. I want to get people comfortable with at least 2 to 3 basic striking combinations: jab, cross, front kick, cross, hook, cross, uppercut, cross, left kick. Let's say those are the 3 combinations I want you to just have in your back pocket. You can throw those pretty comfortably. You can rely on them. They're more or less okay. And we're going to give you 2 to 3 defenses: slip, block, and pull. All right. If you're pretty confident with those 3, if we drill them enough that you can do them on instinct, cool. Your first sparring match should be against your coach or a higher up student. And they are not allowed to do anything to you, but you can do those 3 combinations or pretty much anything you want to them. You're going to do 2 to 3 rounds like that, where you're just trying to hit your coach and they're just defending. And then you're going to do 2 to 3 rounds where your coach is only going to try to punch you with his left hand or his right hand, whatever. Pick a thing. There's only one variable you have to worry about. And when the round starts, your coach is going to show you how hard he's going to hit you. You need to bite down, tuck your chin, eat one on the forehead. He's going to show you this is what it's going to feel like. No harder than this. It's got to be something you can live with. So you understand, all right, the consequences here are very low. It's not going to feel great. It shouldn't feel great. This is the thing that pisses me off about a lot of people, that they get hit in sparring, like touched in sparring. They're like, that was too hard. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was just harder than you wanted it to be. But this isn't a dance class. Like, you're going to get hit. But it needs to be something that you're like, all right, that didn't feel good, but I'm also not dying, right? If you are genuinely like, no, that hurt a lot. Okay, too much. But that's what you're going to deal with. You're going to deal with one punch, one little touch. And if it tags you, it's going to sting a little bit, but you don't have to worry about it that much. You can still throw whatever you want. Your coach is only going to do their left hand. You're going to do that for 2 to 3 rounds. And now, your last 2 to 3 rounds, your coach is going to be able to throw whatever he wants at you. Because now we just tiered you up. You went from you're on the attack only, you're defending from one thing only, now you got to defend from it all. But you know you're in a safe space. You know what it's going to feel like. And obviously this has to be done with someone that is respectful and that you trust, that won't get mad if you hit them too hard. Because the fact is, a person who's never sparred before doesn't know the rules. They don't know the etiquette, right? They're going to be awkward. They're going to hit the wrong places. They're going to not know how to play, right? It's a game that you don't know how to play. So you need to have someone who can understand that and not punish you for it, just show you what you did wrong.
It's I think this is one of the challenges that you have when you're doing a striking class, and it's for beginners. So the problem is when it gets down to, like, if you actually do some form of sparring at the end, the problem is it's all beginners against beginners.
Which is the worst thing in the world.
It's horrible, yeah, because in jiu-jitsu, it's bad enough because they just do weird things. They go hard for nothing. They do, they spaz out a lot, right? But it still sucks, obviously, but it's on the ground. So they're not really trying to hit you, but they might hit you by accident with their knee or whatever. You just have to, if you're advanced enough, then you can kind of like, you see it coming, so you know what to expect. So you're already like on the defensive, and you're able to block the spasms, so to speak. But the problem with when you have beginners going at it, in striking, now it's horrible because they both don't know how to go about it. They don't have they're not mature enough. Like they're not used to taking a hit and staying calm. It could escalate very easily,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they both just they just wail at each other.
Yeah.
They have no control, right? So then like because I see that happen at my club in the Muay Thai class. Like I see beginners sparring with beginners, and then I'm always hearing stories. Oh yeah, this guy like busted my knee. This guy kicked my elbow. This guy whatever, this and that, and all kinds of stuff. And I'm past that stage where I'm no longer a beginner, but I'm a little bit more towards the intermediate stage where like I could take a beginner and handle them properly even when they spaz out because I'm starting to see things coming. But for a long time that was a challenge because like when you face off with somebody in sparring and even in slight sparring, right? We're not trying to do anything crazy, but you just don't know, like you don't know the person, you don't know what to expect. And that actually makes it pretty stressful because you're like, oh man, am I in for a good time or am I in for like for a bad time? Like how do you deal with that in your classes?
One thing I like to tell my adult students is that sparring with someone for the first time is like having sex with somebody for the first time. Don't bring out the weird shit. Don't bring out the chains and don't start just pounding into them. Got to be nice. You got to romance them. You got to make them want you to come back.
Mm-hmm.
You want that second date. So don't be stupid about it. And a lot of times the adults are like, I get that. Okay, cool. And the ones who are like, I don't understand what's the problem, they're usually single. But yeah, I usually just, like there's no perfect solution. Like sometimes beginners are just going to hit each other. They're going to hit you. They're going to hit harder than they expect to.
Mm-hmm.
I try to get in front of people and just let them know, like, this is what acceptable impact feels like. This is what really for me, it's more speed than it is force. Mm-hmm. The faster you go, the less cognizant of how hard you're hitting is. Right? Like if I throw a punch and it's like that, even if I meant for it to be soft, if I don't have the maturity, like you were saying, to keep loose and calm that entire time, or to know that my hand is here, his face is here, so I got to stop short. If I don't have that kind of maturity, then I'm going to hit hard. I don't have a choice. So I always advocate go slower than you think you need to, because that's the only way to ensure that you're actually doing it right. And if you do hit your partner too hard, you don't get a partner anymore.
Yeah, and don't get, and for those who are listening and all, don't keep beating them down. Like back off.
Yeah.
And that's something that you have to you have to do. Like if you want to, the way I see it is that you're 100% responsible for your partner.
Mm-hmm.
So that means
it's
that
like dating.
If you hurt them, it's your fault. Like if you throw a punch and they're like they walk into it too hard, right? It's still your fault.
Yeah.
So if you come from it from that perspective, then you have to really take care of your partner because you want them to go home and come back, like go home in one piece, right? Go to work the next day, and then say hi to you the next time, and not avoid you. So
this is the part where it gets really difficult because it is 100% your responsibility to take care of your partner. Mm-hmm. Like if someone gets hurt while you're sparring with them, that's your fault, not theirs. But on the other hand, and this is the part that sucks to have to say, if you get hurt sparring, it is your responsibility to speak up to your partner. Mm-hmm. Like this is the part that sucks, especially for adults. Because at the end of the day, if you get hurt in sparring, like not like obviously injured, like if your knee gets broken or whatever, or your nose gets broken, that's a big problem. But if you just hit harder than you would like, it's on you as the adult to tell your partner, not your instructor. Because if you tell your instructor, all he's going to say is, hey, don't hit so hard. Mm-hmm. The moment's passed. it's too late. It's on you as the person getting hit to say, that's too much. Which sucks because that's a huge ego killer.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to do it right then and there. You got to say, that's too much. I don't like this. I'm not safe with this. We got to walk it back. And if they do it again, that's when you say, I'm not doing this again. I'm not sparring with you anymore.
Yeah. I think, I think that's really hard. Because even for me now, when I think about it, it's like I'll, somebody goes hard, like at this point, I'm able to stay calm. And then after that, I'm like, okay, it's going a little bit hard. I gotta crack him. I gotta crack him one good just to get the respect, But then I won't continue because I don't want it to escalate. Like I have that level of maturity in sparring now at this point. And then worst case, I'll just clinch up, because I'm a grappler. I don't really care. I could, I'll do what I have to do to not get killed, so to speak. But I find but that's still hard for me though. Like
it sucks.
Sometimes I'll take my beating and then I'll just go and like cry about it. Like not literally cry, but like just mull it over and complain in my head and be like, oh, that's the last time I'm going with this son of a gun, like this guy's a douche, whatever. I'm never gonna spar with him again. Blah 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 blah. And I just go through like just complaining to myself and being angry basically and pissed about what happened. But it's a very hard thing to do, to say to your partner, hey, dude, you're going too hard, because it's an ego thing, right? Like we don't want to be the big crybaby or be like, oh, what do you mean, Or people.
But then the thing with that is though, like it's a good test of character for both of you, because if you have the maturity and the self-confidence to say, hey, that was too much, you're actually showing that you're much stronger than people think you are. Because that means you're willing to say, you hurt me, let's not do that again, which is way braver than just sucking it up and crying in your car on the ride home. And I'm not making fun of you. That's a way to handle it. I'm not saying this is the only way to handle it. I'm just saying it's a testament to how strong someone's character is if they're willing to say, hey, that was too much. And it's a test of what your partner is doing. Because a lot of times I feel people aren't intending to be jerks. They just don't know what they are. So if you assume that your partner can't hear what you're saying, then by default, you're right because you're not going to say it. But if you say, hey, that was too hard, and they continue to do it, you've just proven that this guy is a douche. Yeah. If you tell them that their behavior needs to change and they don't change it, then now it's on them. Because a lot of times they don't know, and if you bring it to their attention, then they can change it. And if they choose not to, that's when you're like, all right, we're done. That's it. I don't want to do this anymore. Or you ramp it up with them and let the cards fall where they might. And that happens sometimes too. And that can be okay. If there's no serious injuring that happens, that can be okay. But I think it's more of a testament of character for two people to be able to say, this was too much. Okay, let's fix it. That's really what I think we're building in the dojo on the floor. The skills are important. They're vitally important. But developing your character enough to be able to say, this is how I would like to be treated, or this is how I'm going to change my behavior to better take care of the people I care about. That's really what you're developing when you practice martial arts.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah, that's pretty hard, but I think that this sort of thing has to be repeated to your students over and over and over again. Like, hey guys, we're about to spar. These are, this is what I want you to do, and basically you want to take care of your partner, and if your partner goes a little bit too hard, let them know, right, that they're going too hard so they could make the adjustments, because sometimes we don't know how hard we're actually going. And it's not because we want to hurt our partners. We just don't have that awareness yet, So let's have a good time and, have some fun. But the thing is, if you say it once, people forget.
Yeah,
right?
You got to repeat it every time.
Yeah, and also like, you have like a group of 20 guys, but then the next group is going to be different. Like it's not, so you got to constantly repeat that. I think you have to build it in to the culture of the class, of the club, because if you don't, it makes if you set it up that way, then I think that people will fall in line and follow that culture. You know, because it's always the coach that's going to lead. You know, he's the one that everyone else is going to take example off of. So if the coach like just doesn't say anything, then it becomes a free for all. So everybody just does whatever the heck they want to do, kind of thing. And that can end up good and it can end up bad, right? Depending.
Yeah, you're rolling the dice on what's going to happen to your culture at that point.
Yeah. No, exactly. You know, so like you know, but while we're talking like this, like I realize this, and I'm like, yeah, I think that would be the right way to go about it. And you know, the funny thing is, for a little while there, I was actually thinking of, you know, yeah, maybe one day I would like to teach and I would like to coach. This is something fun. But at this point, I realized, man, it's a lot of work.
There's a lot of work. Just so you know, I want to wrap this up. It's getting a little late.
Okay. Yeah.
But we could take a few more minutes. What I do want to say, and this is, if I had to pick like one issue that I think needs to change in martial arts, that just needs to change, I think we need to stop assuming that black belt or fight record or time on the mat equals teaching. Equals teaching ability. All of the best dojos, instructors, whatever that I've ever been to have a dedicated teaching program. They have a person and a method that shows you how to teach other people. And that's not just like, here's how you show technique number 1. It's also, here's how you communicate with people so they can understand you. Here's how you do set the culture of the room. Here's how you make sure these people are listening and following directions outside of just barking orders at them. I think I see way too many people in the martial arts self-defense industry that just assume because they have a black belt or they took a couple fights that they're capable of teaching. And really what they're capable of doing is giving people a room to hit each other in, which is fine, but there's no other career out there that you can just do. Like there's no other career in the world that you can just say, I've done this before, so therefore I'm qualified to teach it to other people.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like teaching is a skill in itself. And like, you don't have to be the best in the world, like to teach somebody, right? Like obviously you have to have some form of credibility. You have to know what you're doing. But beyond that, I mean, I've met guys who never really competed all that much, but who were amazing teachers just because they have that skill, they developed it, they had some attributes, and they enjoy what they're doing, and they really study the game, and they understand how to communicate properly, and how to explain things, and how to take their time, and where to push, where to pull, where to back off, where to, you know. And I've met guys who are brilliant at, you know, at what they do as fighters, as competitors, but then when it comes time to teach something, it's very difficult for them. They have a harder time. So it's definitely a skill in itself. And I think that the best is like, ideally you want to find a good balance, you know, between the two. But yeah. Hey, anyways, I know I want to be respectful of your time. So how about you let everyone know, you shout yourself out, like where can people find you if they want to come to your gym, train with you? Where do they find you online? And, you know, anything else that you want to
Yeah, if you're looking to find me on YouTube, my handle is Combat Self-Defense, 3 different words. I post weekly. I just took a little break, so there's not as many videos as there should be, but I do try to post weekly various martial arts and self-defense concepts, as well as basically anything I want to talk about. So if you're looking for tutorials, looking for my opinion on things, Combat Self-Defense is where you're going to find that. If you're looking for me specifically, Warrior Family Muay Thai ATX here in Austin, Texas. I teach Muay Thai and combative, so if you're looking for either one of those things, I offer it. Everyone's welcome. I'm not a jiu-jitsu instructor, so you're looking for that, I can't offer it to you. But if you want to learn how to strike and throw people to the ground, I can help you there. Everyone's welcome. I just want to spread martial arts as much as I can. I know I present myself as an arrogant douchebag on the internet. That gets you to click on my video. Like, that's the internet. That's the game, douchebags.
No, but I think it's amazing because it's what kept me engaged as well. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, he's kind of cocky, but he's funny. But then when you listen to what he has to say, you're like, wait a second, it's legit. The
Well, it goes back to
information.
what you said earlier. That's the YouTube game. I gotta entertain you.
Yeah. If I'm just being like super humble, super respectful, oh yeah, blah 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 blah. Like no one's gonna,
Yeah, no
and
one cares.
it's aspects of our personality, right?
Right.
So that we have to emphasize to keep the people to keep it entertaining somewhat,
Yeah.
right? Because I think as a teacher too, right? Like it's not just about the information that you convey, but it's how you manage to get it across.
Yeah.
So if you have to be a little bit more amped up and pumped up to get it across properly, then it's your responsibility to do so. So that way you get your message across. You use the analogies that you have to. You use humor. You use a little bit of intensity, whatever as a teaching tool. Anyways, that's what I wanted to say. It's really just what I'm saying is that I really think your channel is going to grow really big, and yeah, man. And I'm happy that you decided to you said yes and that you came on to the podcast and spent some time here.
No, thank you for having me. I was looking at your channel too. I love what you're doing. So I was actually honored that you had me on here at all.
Your channel is bigger than mine at this point.
My channel is only bigger than yours for like a week. I don't know what happened. I had like no followers last month and then it exploded. I don't know who shared my video where. So for me, I'm still thinking there's some kind of YouTube bug. Like, I don't know what happened.
Okay. Because I was looking at your channel. I remember like a week and a half ago, it was like at 6,000, right? And now it's like at 9. I'm like, holy smokes! And then I'm like, okay. And then I started paying attention, like attention to your content, and I was like, well, wait a second, his content is better than mine. my social media guy was telling me, yeah, his shit is better than yours, man.
That's it.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do some R&D on this guy. And when I say R&D, I don't mean research and development. I mean rip off and duplicate.
Hey, that's the highest form of flattery, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. So listen,
I wish I could give you concrete advice on what to do, but I honestly have no idea. It just happened overnight.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm a little bit jealous. I'm like,
dude, I'm jealous of me. I wish I could repeat it.
Well, if you figure it out, let me know, man. Because because I'm at this point I'm starting to take my channel really seriously. Whereas before it was kind of like, I'll just do it and I'll see what happens. It was kind of a hobby. It was kind of fun, and then I would be like hardcore. Then I would drop off. But now I'm really I'm really going for it because I really enjoy what I'm doing at this point, and I got a purpose with this channel. And so anyways, all that to say that
I'll close on this, and I will leave dramatically when I'm done saying it. I'm taking this advice from Mr. Rogers because this has helped me retroactively and helped me going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do the channel just for me. I used to say I'm doing it just because I like talking and I like talking about martial arts. And that was at a time when no one really cared. It wasn't until I started doing videos specifically for one person that now all of a sudden people started watching. And I'm not even talking about this particular jump that I had recently. I'm talking about the first time I got over 10,000 views on a video. It's when I was looking at the camera and I saw a person that I wanted to hear my message, a specific person, and I was talking to them. Wasn't talking to the audience, wasn't talking to the camera. I was talking to a specific person, and I wanted them to hear what I was saying. That's when all of a sudden people started caring about what I was doing because I was caring that that person understood what I was saying to them.
That makes sense.
If I could give you one piece of advice, it's pick a person that you're talking to and talk to them.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think I'm definitely gonna do that, man, because that makes sense. And then all of a sudden you're teaching and you're focusing on a specific situation, problem that somebody might have. Whereas if I'm just going about it and just yapping away,
who cares if they're listening?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, no, I love it. Thank you. I really appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on.
All right, man. We'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll see you.
There you go, guys. Rob, really nice guy. Talks a little bit slower than in his videos, but you guys have to remember that in the videos, there's video edited, and it's also like thought out, right? Like he actually thinks about his stuff more than I do. That's why his content is actually better. Whereas me, I do it on the rip, on the fly, and that doesn't work out too well. You hear a lot of like, and I'm just like thinking while I'm looking at you guys in the camera. And some people enjoy me going off on tangents and all, and some people complain. But I'm gonna get better at it, guys. Like I'll still go off on tangents, but at least I'll be able to come back and circle back and actually make a point or whatnot. But that was the podcast. I had fun, man. Like, yeah, Rob, cool guy. And this is the fun thing about, doing like being on YouTube and reaching out and doing podcasts and all, is that you get to meet all these cool people who have something in common with you already from the rip, right? They're already into martial arts, already into fitness. They have their stories and all that. So it's a really fun thing. And let me look into the comment section just in case there's some questions I can answer for you guys. But it seems like we're all good here. Okay, so Omar is saying he's been around since the 80s. Oh, you must be talking about Paul Vunak. So, yes, I still don't know who that is, but now I know, kind of. I think he's a Jiu-Jitsu guy, something. Doesn't matter. All right, guys. So that's it for this Thursday. I'll see you guys next week. And Mikes, I got to talk to my boy before I say bye. The stream of Rob was interesting. I learned some things. Yeah, I learned some things too, man. That's why, like when I discovered his channel and I started watching a lot of his videos, I was like, man, he's really insightful. Like I like the way he conveys information and his opinions. I wouldn't say his opinions, but the way he thinks about things, the way you see things, super cool. Anyways, that's that, guys. So I'm gonna keep on lining up guesses for the podcast on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern time. If I don't have a guest, it'll just be a live stream. Me probably analyzing some kind of video or showing you guys something that I'm working on and all that, and then just shooting the shit with the boys, man. So that's that, and I'll have a good night, guys. Have a good weekend, and don't forget to like, subscribe, to the channel, comment, of course. Sharing helps a lot. Sharing is caring, and I appreciate it very much. So that's it for tonight, guys. Later.